restore Ashina to glory.
Hey everybody, welcome back to DBS. Alright, well, Sekiro's been out for like what, 10 days, 2 weeks? I don't know, I forgot really. I've been engrossed in the game, and this is the final fight of the game. But the first time I beat this boss, it took me probably 2 hours or so. If you can see, the first phase and the second phase, I'm doing pretty well and like no damage, or like, not want to say no damage. I have done no damage on the first phase, but I mean like I'm rolling right through it because I basically like memorized all the patterns. I'm fighting it so much. The phase 3 and 4 were terrible. I just couldn't get, like, the movements are so difficult. Anyway, so what are my thoughts on this game? If you've been watching the channel, you know that I'm a huge Soulsborne fan. Been playing the series since Demon Souls launched. And of course, you know that I'm mostly into PvP, although I have delved into some challenges. I'm not into like challenge runs. Because for me, gaming is about relaxation. I don't want to stress myself doing Soul Level 1 playthroughs. It's just not my thing. I don't want to add more stress to myself. However, this game did test my stress and my patience a lot. Mostly the boss fights, everything else was fine. But the boss fights, like, they really tested my patience. I don't like the fact that most of them are like damage sponges. I don't like the fact that you basically have to play the game as the developers wanted you to play it. Like, if you don't utilize the exact tactics with precision, you're not gonna win. I'm not really a fan of action games. Like, I never liked Devil May Cry or those hack and slashes. They're just, I'm not into that. I like to play in my own way, my own style, my own builds, my own pace. This game doesn't let you do that. We know that's not an RPG and it's not a Souls game per se. However, I felt really limited in what I can or cannot do. The prosthetic tools are very situational. They're not like, they're an added tool in certain cases, but they're not like something to be relied on. Especially that in some boss fights, they only let you use them like 3 times. And then after that, you can't use your prosthetic arm. So even in that case where they do have some tools to help you, they take it away from you. And some of these boss fights, especially the later ones, are like so fast paced, like you can't even waste 1 second or even a fraction of a second trying to use like some of these prosthetic tools. And the most one I saw using was the firecracker, because it was able to distract or stun some of these bosses. But most of the time I barely used any of the prosthetic tools. Again, it's nice to have, but I think it's situational, and in many cases it's probably not the optimal way to go with. I did love the traversal. I did love the exploration. The only thing I don't like about the exploration is that most of the items and the loot is pretty useless. At least in the Souls games, like if you went off the beaten path somewhere, you might find a weapon, you might find an armor set, you might find like whatever, a blood rock or a titanite slab somewhere, or things of that nature. Here, the hidden path will either give you a couple of prayer beads, which are not few and far between. There's like only a few, maybe I think 4 or 5 that are actually in the wild. Everything else is from mini boss battles. And then you get most of your prosthetic tool upgrades, like the tools to make the prosthetic tools, pretty much early on. A couple of them are gated behind mandatory boss fights. So again, some of them are very situational, like the one that divine, whatever it's called, the one that like twists your enemies around. Very situational, like not enough with practical use. especially like on higher new game cycles where everything just hits harder and you don't have much time to do such maneuvers. The spear only is used for me. I found it useful for one battle, not much else. I know I'm sounding very negative about this game. Actually, I like it a lot. I really, really, really enjoyed this game. I just thought that the boss fights are just, they drag on too long. The dragon rot mechanic is pretty much useless. I didn't even even try to complete any of the NPC side quests because, I did complete a couple of them. I went in as much as I can blind, and I did most of it blind, but just trying to find the last couple prayer bead locations. I had to go and look up that. Found most of them by myself. I just, I know that I'm not going to be replaying this game again because I've already got a couple of endings, still have one or two left, and I just don't feel like doing all these bosses all over again with all these sponging and these like precise movements. Like I've done several challenge runs, like beating Ludwig and at level 43 on Bloodborne, and beating Sister Fried at soul level 20 with +2 weapons. So I'm not saying I'm terrible at PvE. It's not my real forte. And like I said, I play these games to enjoy myself and relax. If I feel I'm stumbling somewhere, I could just, have multitude of options. And as much as they say that it's not a Dark Souls game, I think the only difference is that the combat and the traversal is not exactly 100% Dark Souls, Bloodborne style. Meaning that, of course, the combat's completely different. That goes without saying. So we can't compare the two. You can't like just dodge roll everything and expect to be able to win. Another thing is you can use the grappling hook to move around. So obviously that's another way it's different. But otherwise, like the whole open world, bonfires, enemy designs, some of the like going to find the upgrades. There's some of the cryptic story. It's pretty much made to be a Souls game. As much as everyone was saying, no, it's not a Souls game, it has so much of its DNA in there. And I'm not complaining. That's the best part I liked about it the most, which is like exploration. And the game is beautiful, and I really enjoyed it. The story is not that bad. It's nothing memorable. Neither is the music, honestly. And unfortunately, I don't think it'll have the staying power because there's not much going on, not much variety in the builds. But overall, it was a 9 out of 10 game for me. I enjoyed it a lot. Unfortunately, due to no online, no variety in the builds, the only thing you can do is challenge runs. And again, that's not my style. It's too stressful. And I'm not going to speedrun this game again. It takes too much of a certain mindset or patience that I don't really have. But I thoroughly enjoyed the game. I'm going to be going back to online PvP on Dark Souls and Bloodborne. And thank you for sticking around. I'll see you guys very soon. Peace.